start with 7th experiment in the practical session. The program name is write a program to create a class with data members ABC and member function to input data, compute the discriminant based on the following condition and print the roots. If discriminant, if it is equals to 0, then print roots are equal. If discriminant is greater than 0, then print roots are real and distinct. If discriminant is less than 0, then print roots are imaginary. This is your question. Then what is the aim of this program? Depending upon the discriminant, you have to find the roots. How to find discriminant? How to identify that? By using quadratic equation. Whereas the quadratic equation says Q equals minus B plus or minus square root of B square minus 4AC whole thing divided by 2A. This is your quadratic equation. This you already studied in high school level. Then what do you mean by roots here? What do you mean by discriminant? B square minus 4AC can be called it as discriminant. B square minus 4AC can be called as discriminant. Then what is the root 1 represent? Root 1 represent minus B plus square root of. Here B square minus 4AC is nothing but discriminant. That is square root of D whole thing divided by 2A. That is root 1. Then R2 represent minus B. In the first case we are written plus, now it is minus. Minus square root of discriminant whole thing divided by 2A. This is root 1 and this is your root 2. Now is it clear? Root 1 as well as root 2. Depending upon the discriminant, you have to find the root 1 as well as root 2. In the question they are given, if discriminant, if it is equals to 0, then what is root 1 value as well as root 2 value you have to find out. In the same way, if discriminant is greater than 0, that is if it is positive, then what exactly the root 1 represents as well as root 2 represent, that you have to find out. If discriminant is less than 0, then roots are imaginary, it has to display. Once again I am to recall all the things. If discriminant, see the question, if discriminant part, if it is equals to 0, if discriminant, if it is equals to 0, then what exactly the root 1 represents? Root 1 equals, see, if this part, if it is equals to 0, that is B square minus 4AC, if it is 0, then root 1 equals, that is minus B divided by 2A. That is root 1. What about root 2? Root 2 also represents minus B divided by 2A. In the case of discriminant, if it is equals to 0. If this part is 0, then that is R1 represents minus B divided by 2A and R2 represents minus B divided by 2A. Then if discriminant is greater than 0, if it is positive value, then R1 represents minus B. Here as usual minus B plus square root of discriminant, that is here we have positive value. That is why square root of D divided by 2A. This is root 1 and R2 represent minus B minus square root of D whole thing divided by 2A. Now is it clear? This is regarding the second condition. If discriminant is greater than 0, then roots are real. Both root 1 as well as root 2 are real and it is to be positive value. If discriminant is less than 0, if it is negative value, then negative value means square root of negative value, once again it will be imaginary values we will get. That is why in this case it has to be displayed that it is imaginary. Imaginary roots we will get here. This is the agenda of the program. Depending upon the quadratic equation as well as discriminant, you have to find the roots. Once again I am to recall, quadratic equation represents minus B plus or minus square root of B square minus 4AC divided by 2A. This is your quadratic equation. Root 1 formula, whereas root 1 first I am to write the plus operator For root 2, write down negative operator. Now is it clear? Next I am to explain the program regarding this. While explaining the program, first as usual, we have to start with the header file. The first header file hash include iostream.h header file. This is the supporting header file for scene as well as cout function. Next, hash include conio.h. Hash include conio.h is the supporting header file for clear screen as well as getch function. The next header file hash include math.h. Math.h. This is a supporting header file for mathematical function because in the program we are using SQRT, that is square root. For that, the supporting header file is math.h. Next header file hash include process.h header file. Process.h, because in the program we are using exit function. Exit function work agbeku andre then we require this process.h header file. If you want, you can use process.h header file. Otherwise, if you want, you can use stdlib, that is standard library function also you can use. Next, we will start with the class. Here, the class name. Here, I want to find quadratic equation. Then on that, depending upon the discriminant, I have to find the roots. For the sake, the class name I am to write quadratic. The class name I am to write it as quadratic. Here, in this quadratic, I am going to declare the variables bracket. In private section, we will declare the data members. Which are the data members we need here? A, B, C, and to store the result quadratic D with that root 1 as well as root 2. These are the variables are required. All the variables I am declared as float A, B, C, to store the discriminant D, then to store the result R1 and R2. These are the variables. In private section, we have declared all the variables. Next, in public section, declare the functions. Which are the functions we required? One is get data function for input purpose, and one more is compute function for calculation purpose, and to display the result display function. Totally 3 functions we required here. The first one void get data function. Second one void compute function. Next void display function. Then close the class. While closing the class, after flower bracket you have to put semicolon. Now first one by one I am to write. Now first I am to write regarding get data function. That is, first the return type here void, the class name quadratic, then scope resolution operator, get data function. Here no need to put semicolon because now we are writing the statement of this get data function, whereas here we are just defining which are the functions here. We are not written any statement. For the sake here we used to put semicolon, but here no need to put semicolon. Now in this, which are the variables we required to calculate discriminant as well as root 1 as well as root 2? For that we require 3 variables A, B, C. If you want, you can write enter the value of A, B, C. Otherwise, if you want, you can write enter the coefficient. Cout insertion operator, inside the double quotes write down enter the coefficients. Then input the value by using seeing extraction operator A, extraction operator B, extraction operator C, then close this function. Now is it clear? It means that here we have 3 functions. One is get data function, one is compute, and one more is display. Whereas here we have written the statement regarding get data. Now next I am to write the next function, compute function. How to write the compute function? Before the return type here we have written void. Then once again void The class name we are given as quadratic. Then scope resolution operator. The function name here compute. The function name is compute. Now, what is the first thing? First we have to find the discriminant. What is the discriminant formula? That is d equals b square minus 4ac. If you know the discriminant, then only I can able to find root 1 as well as root 2. Is it no? First step, first find the discriminant. That is d equals b square minus 4ac. Directly I cannot write b square minus 4ac in C++. Then what I have to do? b into b minus 4 into a into c. b square minus 4ac. Then now write down the conditions one by one. If d, if it is equals to 0, here we have written 2 times equals. 2 times annuvaga, it's a relational operator. Here, if d value, if it is equals to 0, then what it has to be displayed? It has to display that roots are equal. Both the roots are equal. See, if d part, discriminant part, if it is equals to 0, root 1 formula as well as root 2 formula, both are same. It means the result are also same here. If this is the condition, then see out, inside the double quotes, write down roots are equal. Roots are equal. Then find the formula of R1 as well as R2. R1, what is the formula to find root 1? That is minus b divided by 2 into a. 2 into a. That's why here open the bracket. 2 into a. Root 1 formula. What about root 2 formula? Root 2 equals root 1. And then root 1 the value root 2 kuda hogutte illi. Then both are same. That is roots are equal. Next, what is the else part? Else. What's the next if condition? If discriminant is greater than 0. If discriminant part, if it is greater than 0, what is the resultant? It has to be displayed. Roots are real and distinct. See out. Roots are real. Then find R1 as well as R2. What's the formula to find R1? If discriminant part is greater than 0, that is minus b plus square root. Directly I cannot write square root like this format. Then I have to use square root function, SQRT function. That is SQRT, square root of d. This function work agbeku andre, then compulsory are required math.h header file. Square root of d whole thing divided by 2 into a. 2 into a. Now is it clear? Then what about R2? R2 equals minus b minus SQRT of d whole thing divided by 2 into a. Then close this else part. Now is it clear? What is the next remaining thing here we have? That is discriminant is less than 0. Already we have written equals to 0, greater than 0. The remaining thing, obviously it is less than 0. That's why no need to write once again discriminant is less than 0. Only I can start else. Directly you can write else. What is the else part here we have? Both roots are imaginary. Here write down else, open the bracket, write down see out imaginary. Then no need to process. It has to come out from the program. For the sake we use exit function. Then close this else part. A exit function work agbeku andre process.h header file irbeku. Ee exit function process.h illa andre otherwise stdlib kuda irbeku. At least we need stdlib, that is standard library function. One more bracket here I have to close. Here for this if we have 3 statement, for this if also we have 3 statement, here for else we have 2 statement, that's why here we open the bracket and here we have close the bracket. The remaining one more bracket is there, that is to close the compute function. Here we have closed the compute function. Then the last one, the function is display function. How to display the value? By using display function. See, first how to write the statement of display function? The written type here we have void. That's why void quadratic scope resolution operator display function. Display function. Now, here what are the things I want to display? Only 2 things I want to display, that is root 1 as well as root 2. That's why cout first root equals. Then display the value where exactly the result is present, that is on R1. Next display the second one, cout insertion operator second root equals. Display the root 2 value, that is R2. R2 here we have displayed. Then we will close this function. One more function I have to write, that is the main program now I have to write. For the sake, void main. Here, first create the object. How to create the object? By using the class name, then object name. The class name here we are given as quadratic. Leave one space. Q is the object name. Then clear screen function. Call the functions one by one by using object of the class. The object name here we are given as Q dot get data function. Second one, Q dot compute function. The last one, that is display function, that is Q dot display function. Then next get ch, then close the main program which we have opened. Now is it clear? What is the aim of this program? To find the roots by using discriminant. What is the quadratic formula? That is minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac, whole thing divided by 2a. That is the quadratic equation formula. First, we have to create the class. There the class name given as quadratic. There declare the variable in float data type ABC, discriminant root 1 as well as root 2. Then display all the functions in public section. Then close the class. While closing the class, after flower bracket, compulsory you have to put semicolon. First write on the get data function, enter the coefficient also you can write, otherwise enter the value of ABC also you can write. Then in compute section, first find the discriminant. Then by using discriminant, if it is equals to 0, root 1 as well as root 2 both are equal, same. If discriminant part is greater than 0, then find root 1 as well as root 2. The else part, it has to display that it is imaginary, then exit. Then in display function, display both root 1 as well as root 2. Then in the main program, first create the object and then call it by using the object of a class. Now we will explain on the system how it will be executed. Now to perform C++ program, open DOS box. Yes. Before starting the program, first take file new empty project, then enlarge the screen. Now type the program. Before typing the program, first I am to type the question. First now I am to take the multi-line command, that is the division slash star. What is the question? Write a program. Write a program to create a class with data members A, B, C and member functions to input data, compute the discriminant, based on the condition. On that, what is the first condition we have? That is, if discriminant, if it is equals to 0, then it has to print roots are equal. If discriminant is greater than 0, then it has to print roots are real and distinct. The last one, if discriminant is less than 0, then it has to print imaginary. This is the condition. This is the question we have. First type the question by using multi-line command. It is optional. If you want, you can write, otherwise no need. Now we'll start the program. First, as usual, to start with header file #include IO stream .h header file, supporting header file for scene as well as cout. Next, #include conio.h. This is a supporting header file for clear screen as well as getch. The next one, #include math.h. This is a supporting header file to perform mathematical function. In the program, we are using sqrt. Further, this is a supporting header file. Next, #include process.h. If you want, you can use process, otherwise stdlib, that is standard library function also you can use. Now, we'll start with the class. Try to write everything in small letter only. It's a case sensitive. Class, then Quadratic is the class name. Quadratic. There, we will type the program inside the class. There, first in private section, we are declaring the data members. The data members we are declaring as, the first one is float format, because the result will get in fractional format. That's why we want to declare it as in float. Float A, B, C, and to store discriminant D, to store the result R1, as well as to store the root 2, that is R2. These are the variables we required. Declare all the variables. Next, in public section, declare the member functions. In this, we have 3 member functions. One is for input purpose, that is void get data function. Next one, we need the second one for calculation, that is void compute function for calculation purpose. And the last one is for display purpose, void display function. Totally in this, we have 3 functions. One is get data, one is compute, and one more is display. After this, close the class. To close the class, after flower bracket, you have to put semicolon. Now we are closed the class. Now, one by one, we'll write the functions. The first one is void quadratic scope resolution operator get data function. Now, we are writing the statement of this get data function. That's why don't put semicolon here. Now, first under that, open the bracket, there write down cout insertion operator, enter the coefficient. If you want, you can write enter the coefficient, otherwise enter the value of ABC, that also you can write. Coefficient. To move the cursor, next line, end line function. Next, scene, one by one input all the value. First one, extraction operator A, extraction operator B, extraction operator C. Now close this get data function. Next function, we will write the second one, that is compute function. For that, void is the return type, quadratic is the class name, quadratic is the class name. Then next, scope resolution operator, compute function. Now we are writing the statement of this function. For the sake, don't put semicolon here, just open the flower bracket, then write down one by one. First step, find the discriminant. How to find discriminant? That is D equals B square minus 4AC. Directly we cannot write B square minus 4AC. For the sake, we will write B into B, B star B, B into B minus 4 into A into C, that is B square minus 4AC. Then apply the conditions one by one. Now here the first one, if discriminant, if it is equals to 0, here we are written 2 times equals, it is a relational operator. Here there is no any movement will occur. It says that right side value equals to left side value, that is if D equals 0, then what is the thing it has to display? The first thing it has to be displayed that Cout insertion operator roots are equal. To move the cursor, next line, end line function. Next, one by one display the roots. R1 equals, that is minus B divided by 2 into A. 2 into A we have, that is why open the bracket, 2 into A. Then how to find R2? R2 as well as R1 both are same, that is why R2 equals R1. Now close this if part. Here for D equals 0, root 1 and root 2 we have find that. Next we have to find the next one, that is the else part. The else, what is the next condition? That is if D, that is the discriminant, is greater than 0. On that also, once again we have 3 statements. For the sake, open the flower bracket. It has to be displayed that Cout insertion operator roots are real. To move the cursor, next line, end line function. Next, one by one, write on the root 1 formula as well as root 2 formula, that is root 1 equals, that is open the bracket, minus B plus SQRT, that is square root SQRT, square root function of D, whole thing divided by 2A, 2 into A. Close the bracket, then semicolon. First root 1. Next, find the root 2 also, that is R2 equals, open the flower bracket, minus B minus sign, that is now root 1 is positive, root 2, there on the place of plus you have to write negative, that is minus SQRT square root of, open the bracket, here D, that is discriminant, whole thing divided by 2 into A, that is 2 star A. Close the bracket, then semicolon. Then close this else part. In this, for discriminant we are written D equals 0 greater than 0. The remaining thing will be less than 0. No need to write once again less than 0. Directly you can write the else part. The remaining thing must and should be, it is else only. It is less than 0 only. That's why no need to write less than 0 once again. Directly you can use else. Here once again we have 2 statements. That's why open the flower bracket. There Cout roots are imaginary. Insertion operator roots are imaginary. No need to process R1 as well as R2 now. Then exit. Exit function is used to come out from the program itself. Then it has to be displayed that roots are imaginary, no need to process, it has to come out from the program. For the sake we are using exit function. In this case, if you use the break function helps to come out from the loop, whereas exit function helps to come out from the program itself. Exit. Next here, the else part here we are closed. The one more flower bracket here we have to close, that is compute function. Next here we will close the compute function. The last function is display function, that is void quadratic scope resolution operator display function. Here on the display function, display the values, that is cout, root 1 equals, what is the first root as well as second root, that you have to display first. Root equals, display the value, that is R1. Then to move the cursor next line, end line. Next one more thing we have to display, that is root 2, cout, insertion operator, second root equals. If you want, you can use first root, otherwise root 1 as well as root 2 also you can write. Second root equals, display the second root, that is R2, insertion operator R2. Now once again no need of this end line because the last statement R2, then close this display function. The remaining last function is the main program, that is void main. Void main. Here R2 void main. In this we are going to start the main program, that is first you have to create the object quadratic, create the object name here I am written as Q, then clear screen CLR SCR, then next call the functions, that is Q dot get data function, next Q dot compute function, the last one is, that is object Q dot display function, the last can be get ch to get the result immediately, get ch, then close the main program. Now after typing the program, first you have to say the file. I am to say the file by using the shortcut key F2 also you can use. Save the file. Here I am to write the experiment name as experiment 7, exp7, and compulsory here to save with the extension .cpp, C++ program. Now we are saved. Once we are saved, in the heading there we get the name of the experiment. After saving the program, compile the program. First you have to compile by using Alt F9. There it is displaying, press any key, we have 4 errors. To identify that errors one by one, here see the suggestion it is displaying, statement missing semicolon. And then ನಿಮಗೆ ಕರ್ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಆ ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅದರ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೆಮಿಕೋಲನ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. Then press enter key, see the cursor here, it is pointing here on that line, otherwise in the above that line there is some mistake in semicolon, whereas here we have mistake, after R2 you have to put semicolon. Next once again compile the program, no errors. After correcting all the errors, once again you have to save the file by pressing F2. Now run the program. It is displaying, enter the coefficient. For example, I am to enter 1, 2, 1. Then it is displaying roots are equal, that is first root equals -1, second root is also equals to -1. Once again, I am going to compile the program, for example by giving different value, there is no any error, then run the program. Here once again I am to enter the values, for example 2, -3, then 1. Then discriminant part represents a positive value. Then the first root is 1 as well as second root is 0.5. Now is it clear for all of you? Next class we will meet with a new program. Thank you for all of you.